Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the No Balls Cricket Podcast. First thing we'd like to say is a very happy birthday to our least favorite member of the original running of the podcast, who I think I don't know, Siddharth Solanki has finally exited his teen years, shayad. Maybe I can't remember.
He exited his team. He's 20. What? He's 25.
You clearly did not get the joke there, but fine.
Yeah, I mean, we all know he behaves like he's 12, but that's a different story.
That was my point.
I was just never.
Yes. Anyway, happy birthday, Guddu.
Happy
May
birthday,
your
Guddu.
analogy
May your
may this be the year you finally discover how to make a good analogy.
yeah. Amongst other things. Also, may you finally get a girl to come to Kandivali with you. Um, um, but it's coming back to the show. The two usual suspects here with you, myself, Siddhant Pradhan, the club cricketer, and of course our in inverted commas respected journalist, Mr. Aditya Devrat. Um,
Speaking of club cricket, has your club cricket career finally restarted or no?
No, because the weather has been playing hooky with us for the last week, and it's supposed to play hooky with the world for the next 2 weeks. There was hail today, so it's been absolutely
Again,
dog.
there
It's
was
awful.
I remember watching that Champions League game, that City Champions League game, and it looked like it was snowing that day.
Yeah, there's been a lot of let's just call it inclement weather, but I think in the whole global warming situation, no, England is probably the only place that's actually gotten colder.
Hmm.
Rest of the world heats up, this gets cold.
The melting, the all the melting ice is now falling onto you.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that made no sense scientifically, but fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. We don't give a shit anymore. Not that we ever have, but still.
Yeah,
Uh, on the show today, we're going to stick with our 20-minute time format because, yeah, it
we
should
like it.
get no. Well, other than the fact that I like it, it got him to shut up. So otherwise,
I don't even think, by the way, that it did get me to shut up. All it's really done is got me to speak quicker when I'm ranting.
um, yeah, but you also say less because you speak that quickly, but you just talk a lot more. Here, you're talking less, and I get some control over it, so it's good. All
Fair
right.
enough.
So, what we are going to do is we are not going to waste any time on this program. Today, we are going to jump straight into it. Straight into it. And go.
Right. So it's been a big couple of weeks in the international cricket world. First major, well, I don't know if we call this major, but basically Pakistan thrashed Zimbabwe in two tests, both of them winning by an innings. Babar Azam seems to be struggling with the challenge of captaincy because against Zimbabwe, he's managed to score 2 runs in 2 innings. But other than that, everyone's doing fine. Hassan Ali is blasting batting lineups away. Everyone else is scoring runs. Pakistan, he took that series aram se 2-0.
I mean,
Let's
nobody
all hope for
expected.
India Pakistan World Test Championship final in 2023, I guess would be the next round.
No, I
Yeah.
think they're not good enough to make it till 2029. Um, but wow. um, no, but so look, we all expected Zimbabwe to get absolutely bashed. That's not a surprise to us. Pakistan as a test team, their batsmen are coming along, and I think that's always been their sticking point. Their bowling attack has been. I mean, it's fine. It's one of the better ones in
Always
world
find
cricket. So
bowlers. I don't care how much of a cliche it sounds. It's true. They always find bowlers from somewhere.
they find bowlers from somewhere. They've always been a good bowling attack. Hassan Ali coming back, obviously, that's a huge thing for them because he genuinely, for a lot of us, seemed like the kind of bowler that could, just destroy teams.
Yeah.
Granted, it is only Zimbabwe, but the manner in which they've beaten them, I think they scored 200 once in 4 innings. So that is impressive. Um, but yeah, so that's really the only cricket that's happened this week. um,
Yeah.
but funnily enough, it's not that we want to discuss. It is the controversy after the game that has occurred, where certain sections of the Pakistani media and fans, obviously, have said that Zimbabwe should not be a test playing nation. Namely, one Ramiz Raja.
Yeah. We've been talking about offline. We've been talking about like big three and how other nations don't get enough cricket and there's no promotion, relegation, and whatnot, all influenced by other events in the sporting world. One person needs to be relegated, and that is Ramiz Raja. Please, just never. We've already gotten rid of Sanjay Manjrekar. Get rid of Ramiz Raja also, please.
It's time to get rid of Ramiz Raja as well. And I think the funny thing was on Twitter, if you look at the sort of the knock on effect of all of that was there was one group of Pakistani fans that are like get rid of Zimbabwe, one group is get rid of Ramiz Raja. So it's like you've split Pakistan right down the middle. um, uh, but no, I mean, good for them. That was literally the only cricket on this week. And then we come to the main talking point, obviously, which is
The IPL, or the no more IPL, to be more precise.
listen, it's a bit boring not having it on. I was really looking forward to it. Fantasy was kicking into high gear. All of that was, we were just getting started. And then,
I had finally started doing well in fantasy also, so I was appreciating that. I agree.
you know,
Uh,
well is a severe overstatement, but anyway.
um, but no, there'd been look. I think there for a good week or two before it got cancelled, there'd been this entire debate about whether the IPL should be ongoing or not. During given the crisis that India's been having with COVID, there were camps that said, look, with everything that's going on, there's no point in having a cricket tournament, and other people said, look, IPL some level of solace and cheer, bringing some level of cheer to people in otherwise distressed times. But ultimately, once COVID got into the IPL bubble, it was like then there was no question.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously we can discuss uh, playing it during the pandemic, playing it in India. You can discuss all of that. You can even sort of discuss the sort of, I mean, in a way, it was perversely obtuse at times where they just, for the first half of the tournament, for the first half of whatever was played, they almost refused to acknowledge what was going on outside. Um,
Yeah,
and I mean, you can discuss that all you want, but the fact of the matter is that until the bubble was breached, it, in the eyes of most people, it was a welcome distraction. As soon as that bubble was breached, I think it became very, very difficult to justify carrying on with it. Um, Obviously, the knock on effects of that for the last week, you could see that a lot of the Australian players and commentators were getting a bit sort of on edge. None of the other countries really came out, but you could see some of the Australians drop out. Adam Zampa and who was the other one?
I can't remember if it was Jai or Kane Richardson. One of the
Oh, it was Kane
Richardsons.
Richardson. Kane Richardson was the other one.
Yeah.
So Zampa and Kane Richardson were the first two to leave, and that sort of set your warning bells, ringing,
Yeah.
because that was like, well, okay, now what's going to happen? And you just thought they were spoiled Aussies for a bit until you actually sort of understood the
No, but
truth.
you realize the point, because they were getting, Australia had, even before any of this had happened, Australia decided they were going to ban flights from to and from India. So effectively, these guys were going to be stranded, or at least they thought so.
They still are.
Uh,
They're just not in India anymore.
yeah, they've ended up in Maldives, and then they will eventually find their way back to Australia. But no, yeah, no, you figure it was getting more and more serious, even within the sort of IPL, space, and then it just, once players started testing positive, then there was no question of trying to keep the tournament going.
There's a thing that really sort of, I wouldn't say frustrated me, but really annoyed me. I solidly got me going was immediately after they decided that they're going to postpone the whole tournament, right? The media goes up to Ganguly and asks him, "Are you going to? Is it going to happen? Is it going to be completed at some point later on in the year?" And his first response was, "Yes, because otherwise we lose $230 million." I was like, "Is that really your concern at this hour? I mean, people are dying left, right, and center." I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched the news, but a little bit earlier today, and I'm just going to make this point. It is Monday night in England and Monday evening in America. Um, but earlier today, there was a few pictures of bodies being washed up on the shores of the Ganga in Bihar,
Yeah.
where are my co-host, cohort, co-commentator, whatever you want to call him, is from. Um, but I mean, really, is that your concern at this hour of the day? Like, how fucking obtuse do you have to be? Like, are you just trying to blank out like the reality of the situation in India?
Yeah, it was definitely not a well-advised comment to make. I've seen the other side of this in terms of you know, last year when all sports was shut down around March, April in 2020, that happened in US, and it was very clear that they were going to figure out a way to resume sports within some sort of bubble condition, and it was also extremely obvious that the reason was entirely money. Like you could be, oh, we need to finish the season and all of that, but it was very explicitly, even if it wasn't ever said, this is the amount of money we're going to lose if we don't host it. All the figures were bandied about. Everyone knew that, look, having some form of action, even in a bubble with no fans, would allow everyone to recover some amount of money. People said it, people accepted it, but I think also, the way conditions are in India, and how how drastic it's been for the last few weeks. I think just, you know, we all know that's the reason, but I think you probably just, can figure out a different thing to say.
I mean, look, the thing is, it's different to what happened last year. I think last year, and specifically, I'm just relating this to cricket now because every sport had a different sort of um, return to sport in a way. And I think the other thing with most sort of really high level sport was it served as a really good distraction for people that had been furloughed or had lost their jobs, or people that couldn't, you needed some sort of distraction from
Yeah, when we were all
from
in lockdown,
yeah, the harsh
all across
reality
the
of
world.
lockdown. Um,
Yeah.
and I think in 2020 it was the West Indies and England series, and it made for such a good visual, that first Test match when they came back. And just to reiterate the point about money, the English Cricket Board actually lost money on that series because they had no fans and they had to host the entire West Indian bubble.
Yeah.
So you go back to the point where cricket wanted to restart, but it wasn't about the money. It was just about
Hmm.
actually getting the sport out there. Um,
Yeah.
Whereas now it's just like, well, why do you keep playing? There's only money to go on. And again, I'm not one to say that the IPL should or should not have happened. I think again there are two different sides of the argument. Whereas because when it started, it really the situation was not all that bad, and it just sort of
Yeah, I
exploded
think
in the
it
first
was an
couple of weeks.
ambitious undertaking to do so many multiple cities, so many cities, 4 or 5 different cities, and like having everyone travel and everything. They probably could have explored options which didn't involve all of that, and maybe people would have been better off, and the tournament might still be ongoing. But also, I think we have finally gotten to the point where, in general, things in India are so bad at the moment that, like, there's only so much that of a distraction that cricket can be. And I think for a lot of people, I've seen that point made, and I entirely appreciate that. That, look, if I'm someone, I might be a diehard cricket fan, but if I'm seeing, if I've lost someone in my family, or if I'm just generally seeing all this news filter in from all across the country, how much of a distraction value is cricket really providing? I completely understand that point, and I think at some point it was just, the value that IPL was providing was not enough.
And the other thing is, and here's the political statement that's now going to come. Normally we save it in a sort of more joking manner, but this is one of those very serious kind of issues that you have to tackle head on. But the secretary of the BCCI is Mr. Jay Shah, who is the son of the Home Minister, right? The president of the DDCA is Arun Jaitley's son, who was also an ex-cabinet minister. Um, you know where this is going. You know why this is there. Those are the guys that
Yeah.
are in charge and making the money. And of course, they had to have it because Sri Narendra Modi Stadium with the Reliance and the Ambani and gets games, right?
Yes, gets them more airtime.
More
No,
airtime.
absolutely. I think there was no debate there. Like, they knew it. I mean, IPL has always been some level of, like, national pride exercise amongst everything else that it is. And so I think it was for that group of people, it was too much of an opportunity to pass.
Yeah, but then if you're concentrating on trying to get the bloody IPL through and not doing your fucking job when you're supposed to be saving people's lives, and the shortages of oxygen and things like that is absolutely ridiculous. It just smacks of government incompetence. So
No, for sure. Yeah.
and it just it didn't justify it at that point any longer.
Yeah, I mean, we'd already come across this entire issue during the England Test series when we first there was this entire back and forth about letting fans in. Then the moment fans were allowed in, it was like, oh shit, people aren't wearing masks and whatnot. So was it a good idea? All of that nonsense happened, and so you feel like the BCCI had a case study and India had a case study in terms of organizing a tournament, and then just kind of blew it.
No, the other thing was the warning signs were there because if you remember, I think it was the third T20 between India and England where they allowed 70,000 people in.
Possibly, and then right after that, they decided to go back to closed doors, right?
Yeah,
was it the other way around?
No, they went. Yeah, they decided immediately after that because there was this giant spike in cases that they decided to go back to closed doors. But of course, you can discuss government policies all you want. We're still talking about the IPL, of course. There are other mass gatherings that have been allowed in Gujarat and in the north of India, where the cabinet is still intent on drinking cow urine. Sorry, I'm going to stop now because this is getting my blood pressure rising. But the IPL basically being cancelled, it only led to one very hilarious moment, which I will share with you. The Australians, of course, could not go back home. We saw Michael Slater moan about it on Twitter a lot. Because the Australian
he was slating the Australian government, and quite frankly, right now I think a lot of governments deserve such slatings. We've been slating the Indian government for years.
Yeah. So. But we knew about Australia's policy towards it because that's been their policy throughout. And to be fair to them, it's kept their cases under control. So you're at your own risk at that point. But anyway, that's a separate story. So the issue there was that they couldn't. All the players that were stuck in India, including Zampa and Kane Richardson, who decided that they'd leave early, they couldn't go back to Australia. They were stuck. So what do, right? You can't fly back to Australia from India. So the Australian cricketers have decided on this absolutely ingenious sort of in-between thing. Take it away.
I don't know if the cricketers themselves decided this or this is the solution Australia figured out, but basically they have ended up where every I think rich Indian from Bombay and Delhi ended up during this around November, December, while trying to get away from the COVID madness happening around that time. All the Australians are in Maldives.
Come on, isn't that brilliant? They're stuck on an island now.
I mean, being stuck on an island is their usual state, to be fair.
It's not considered an island, because it's a separate continent. It's not considered an island. As weird as that sounds.
No, I know what you mean, but no, anyway.
But yeah, so the Australian, all of the Australian cricketers and all of the sort of extra Australians that the IPL Aussie Love decided to take in are all now stuck in the Maldives. They still cannot go home.
I think can they not go home, or is it just a case of they need to quarantine for 2 weeks there and then?
They need to quarantine for 2 weeks there and then go. Anyway, time to move on. We have 4 and a bit minutes left, so we'll just get quickly into the next thing.
There's not much else to talk about. I think we're going to go about the question is when the IPL can be rescheduled, but it's entirely up in the air. There's, thanks to international cricket supposedly happening for the rest of the year, there's very little window for it. Most likely after the World T20, which is going to be in October. There have been offers from UAE, Sri Lanka, the English counties to host it, but who knows?
How will the English counties do it? They're supposed to host the 100.
Well, to be fair, maybe they just think we'd rather host the IPL than the 100 because why?
I mean, everybody would rather see the IPL than the 100, but that's a different story.
Exactly. Maybe they know that.
There's also an offer from Sri Lanka. But again, we don't know how much that is. And then literally 2 days after that offer came in, the Indian board decides to announce that India is going to Sri Lanka. It's 2009 again. We have no other cricket on, so hum log Sri Lanka jayenge aur khelenge. Remember that time when it was just highlights? Oh, sorry, there was live games on, but
Yeah,
you thought it was highlights?
because we played Sri Lanka. It's literally a throwback. It's like, acha, we need some game time. Chalo Sri Lanka
Ah,
jao
chal,
dekh.
let's go to Sri Lanka. So anyway, that's I think 3
Um,
ODIs and 5 T20s, and that's going to be uh,
yeah.
in July, I believe.
Yes, I think so. None in all likelihood, none of the players who are going to be involved in the World Test Championship and the England series later in the year in August are going to be in that Sri Lanka tour
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's likely to be a second string side that goes, but that should be interesting.
That should be. I mean,
Um,
our third string team beat Australia. I don't see why our second string can't beat Sri Lanka.
that's true.
So that
That's
should be.
true.
It will be a fun series. I mean, if anything, it's some cricket to watch.
Yeah. Uh, Speaking of the World Test Championship, India announced their squad. No big surprises apart from the fact that, well, I guess this isn't a surprise, which is just slightly disappointing. But Hardik Pandya has not recovered in time to make it for that.
Uh,
Um,
it's a good-looking squad, to be honest. KL Rahul and Ridhiman Saha are, of course, subject to fitness clearances, but
yeah,
we'll just read out the rest of the squad. It seems kind of standard. Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Mayank Agarwal, your three openers. Out of those two, I think between Rohit and Gill, they'll open the batting in England. Um,
yeah,
Pujara, obviously, Kohli, obviously, Rahane, obviously, Vihari, Pant, and then the bowlers. So Ashwin, Jadeja, Aksar Patel, Washington Sundar, Bumrah, Ishant Sharma, Shami, Siraj, Shardul, Umesh Yadav, and the two aforementioned KL Rahul and Ridhiman Saha. No real big surprises. I feel a bit bad for Prithvi Shaw because he misses out, and obviously Hardik Pandya isn't fit enough to play Test cricket. So no real surprises there. On standby, we have Abhimanyu Ishwaran. Again, no surprise there. Prasidh Krishna, we don't know for what joy. Avesh Khan, just how? And Arzan Nagwaswala. Again, who the fuck is he? And also, this is the most brilliant thing about it. If you try and read anything about Arzan Nagwaswala, all you get linked to is Shivam Dubey scoring a Ranji Trophy 100.
yeah. I was very surprised about, but because I was looking for highlights of Nagaswala, sorry, and yeah, so he scored. Sorry, not scored. He took a 5-4 against Mumbai in that Ranji semi-final, but the highlights were more about Shivam Dubey's century.
So, anyway, let's first of all let's pray to God that what happened in Australia does not happen again.
Yes, no raft of injuries requiring us to play all our third string players, but
Yeah, and God forbid if Arzan Nagwaswala makes his debut, that will be hilarious.
I mean, look, left arm swing bowler in England should be
Not a bad
fantastic.
option. Also, he
Yeah.
follows in a very old grand tradition. By the way, we've just run out of our 20 minutes, but since we're anyways on the last bits, I think we're well in time.
Yeah.
I just want to complete this. He runs in a very grand old tradition of representing a specific community from India, the Parsi community. We haven't had a Parsi cricketer in a very long time, haven't we?
Yeah, not since Farooq Engineer.
No, I'm sure there was some after that.
I don't think so.
There has to have been, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I read something that we haven't had a Parsi cricketer since then.
Oh, really? But I'm
Yeah.
just going to run through it and see if we have the last Parsi cricket. Oh yeah, he is since Farooq Engineer. Damn, that's a long time. Wow, that is a long, long time. Now let's just cut back to this. Farooq Engineer retired in the mid 1970s.
Yeah.
But so obviously, if you guys know anything about the history of Indian cricket, Parsi cricketers dominated being part of the Indian cricket team from, I would say, the mid 1940s, say post-war cricket, to till about the mid 70s, and then of course it all changed. But most of them were obviously from Bombay. Whereas
Right. Yeah.
this is a
A
rare
good fair bit of them would have been from Bombay. Yeah.
yeah. I've seen Farooq Engineer roaming the halls of CCI, and believe me, if you saw the man, you would not believe he was a Test cricketer at one point in time.
Yeah, I've seen him only at in recent times. I've only ever seen him like attending matches in England, and yeah, I totally get you.
But grand old tradition. I mean, we've had a fair few Parsi captains. I mean, people like Nari Contractor and obviously Farooq Engineer, and players like that. So there's been a good grand old tradition of Parsi cricketers for India, and that. So that's one positive to Nagoswala making his debut, but obviously that's that. The rest of the squad, again, as we said, Shaw missing out. That's the only unfortunate bit because I think he was coming into a good bit of form, specifically in ODIs and one day and T20 cricket. But I see why he's been left out because I think Prithvi Shaw in English conditions could be a bit of a walking wicket.
Yeah, Prithvi Shaw. I think in any case, though he's rebuilt his or found some form in the IPL. I think when it comes to the long form, he probably would be better off with some practice first.
Other than that, I mean, if you look at the squad, you automatically you can make out that there's going to be a very standard sort of first 11. I'm just going to read out names that I think are going to be the first 11, and then Devrat can have his go at it if he agrees or not. But obviously, Sharma and Gill are going to be your two incumbent openers. Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Pant, both spinners, Ashwin and Jadeja, and then three quicks in Bumrah, Ishant Sharma, and Shami. That is what I think our 11 will be. Obviously, if conditions, you get given a green top or something, and because Hardik Pandya is not in the squad, you would be very tempted to drop maybe Ashwin.
Yeah, it's that Ashwin Jadeja. I mean, I agree with you. I think that would be my first choice 11. I think, but yeah, that Ashwin Jadeja thing is probably the only questionable bit of selection in the sense that, yeah, you might want to take advantage of those of seaming conditions if you can. Someone like Mohammad Siraj could easily come in.
Yeah, I think Siraj.
Obviously, that lengthens your tail. So
the other thing is the other option I'm looking at there. If you're in that kind of situation, then Shardul Thakur becomes a very good option.
Yeah, Shardul Thakur is an option because he can still provide some amount of batting punch.
Exactly. So I mean, you drop one of the spinners in Ashwin and Jadeja, both of whom can bat, and then you play Shardul Thakur obviously as an extra seamer.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's in a situation where there's a seriously green pitch. I mean, Rahul Dravid interestingly came up with a thing saying that if there's a warm summer and the pitches do dry out, then they will turn and you could have two spinners in the squad, and third, fourth, fifth day it will start spinning. But I'm living in England. There doesn't seem to be, forget summer, there doesn't seem to be a sign of spring at this point. So
and we're in the second week of May.
May, exactly. So and I believe there's an England-New Zealand series that's supposed to start in 2 weeks from now. So I really don't know where this is going.
That should be well, the New Zealand cricketers, I think the New Zealand bowlers, I think, are going to love playing right now. What happens in June? We don't know. Maybe you finally do get a summer.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it doesn't seem like it at this point. But yeah, basically that's pretty much our show. Obviously, this is in lieu of the World Test Championship final that's going to be played in June in Southampton, and then the 5-test series against England that starts in July. Obviously, England play New Zealand before the World Test Championship final. New Zealand, who I think are really unfortunate that they keep getting these shit 2-test series, despite being the second best or best team in the world in Test cricket. And now also they've also become the number one side in ODIs with the change in with the sort of rollover of the points in that format as well. I think it's criminal that they only get to play so few games as one of the better teams in world cricket. But hey, that's how life is.
Yeah, we might revisit this topic if we find ourselves more.
We will definitely revisit this
more
topic.
Bored and more in ranting mood.
Yeah, more in ranting mood. I mean, we've had a bit of a rant today. But do we have an award this week?
I kind of don't think we do, and I honestly don't feel like. I mean, amongst the many sacrifices that people have to make, I think us not having an award will be would hardly register. But Yeah.
I mean, if we had to give anybody, it would be Ramiz Raja, but I think it's just that's too stupid to even like bother with an award. So unfortunately, this week, Mr. Ramiz Raja, you don't win an award. So fuck you. Um, also, how can you even contemplate saying something so stupid? Um, on that very happy note, it is time to end. Um, Again, short, sharp, brief, quick show. Um, if you're watching on um, Spotify, sorry, what was I going to say? If you're watching on YouTube,
Watching, you can only.
watching on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'll show you how to subscribe. That little blurb that's floating around the screen somewhere is telling you exactly how you should subscribe. Click on the bell icon as well to remain notified of it. And also remember not to do Florentino Perez's drugs. Um, um,
Um,
And if you are listening to us, remember we are on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and Podcast Addict. And have a good one. That's all I can say. Unless Mr. Devrat wants to have another go at something stupid.
nah, I think there's been enough of that. And I can always have a go at you offline. We don't need the pod for
Oh, go on, man. Just before, just give them a taster.
that.
Just a little one.
I think that was a self-explanatory joke anyway. I've got my dig in.
All right. On that very happy note, time to end. See you guys